Hi and welcome along to AFTV News Daily. Good to be here today. I'll tell you, it's been beautiful, beautiful weather over here in the UK. I just literally had a shower before coming to do the show, and you know what? Sometimes that's not the greatest thing because after that you just feel like you just want to chill. You know what I mean? You feel so relaxed after it, sweaty and that. But listen, it's good to be here, and I've got a very special guest joining me tonight. We got Kugan from IFLTV. Kugan, how you doing, bro?
How you doing, Robbie? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. You?
Just like everyone else, just ticking the days away. It's like Groundhog Day, and yeah, looking for the light at the end of the tunnel, wherever that is.
Yeah. In case you don't know, Kugan, of course, runs IFLTV, which is the biggest boxing channel in the world. Should I say? It is, isn't it?
Well,
don't be modest, man. It is.
one of.
And as well as that, Kugan's a huge, huge Arsenal fan. Me and him been going to football for years, since Highbury days. We used to go football from Highbury days, and we were always chatting football. So as well as him knowing everything to do with the boxing scene, you would have seen him on a gazillion viral videos to do with boxing. So as well as knowing his boxing and everything about boxing, he knows everything about Arsenal as well. So he's a great person to have on today, and be free to ask him questions on both things, boxing and football. And Kugan, what have you been up to? Because you know we've been here and we've been talking about football and how it's been affected, and there's been no football, but it's the same for boxing, isn't it? There's been no boxing either.
No, and it sort of affects sport right across the board. But boxing, I think the last press event that I was at was for a press conference for Derek Chisora and Usyk, which was on the 13th of March. So there hasn't been any press events since that day. It's been over 2 months now. So it's like with anything, having to try and adapt. And I'd never used Zoom or Skype on a single interview in like 10 years. And now that seems to be my daily thing now, is to interview people on Zoom and Skype. And it's been helpful. It's probably 20% of our content that we'd normally be putting out, because April was meant to be a big month and May was meant to be a huge month. There were some big fights lined up in May.
Which one?
Canelo and Saunders was meant to be on the 2nd of May.
Yeah.
Usyk and Chisora, 23rd of May. That would have been next week or this week coming. Dylan White and Povetkin would have been on the 2nd of May as well. They were, you know, a lot of this stuff was pay-per-view as well. So these were big shows, a lot of content around it. And so, you know, when I say 20%, we're doing 20% of the content that would have happened had these fights been going on, is probably a bit of an understatement, to be honest.
Yeah, and I know you, a bit like us, but probably even more so, you do a lot of traveling. I mean, you know, I mean, I'll be talking to you. I'll go, yo, Kugan, where are you? I'm in Vegas. Kugan, where are you? New York, Saudi Arabia. You were recently when I was talking to you. I mean, for someone like you who does so much traveling with boxing, and not only abroad, but up and down the country to all the different shows, because you guys are always there. How's that been? I mean, now just stuck inside.
Yeah, I mean, I've travelled quite a few times to various shows. I was in Miami in January for a Matchroom show, obviously the Wilder Fury rematch in February, which is mad to think that even took place, considering less than a month later everything was on lockdown. So we managed to get that fight in, which was good. But yeah, it's difficult because the boxing, pretty much like football in that respect, there's always things to talk about, and there's obviously 2-3 shows sometimes a week. So going from that to literally doing nothing and hanging around all day waiting for Zoom interviews, because a lot of people I'm interviewing on Zoom are in America, and there's that time difference of sometimes 8 hours. Yeah, it's not been great, but we don't really have a choice. So, you know,
exactly,
having to adapt, and we've kind of got away with it so far. But part of the problem is there's nothing to really talk about. It's like people love to talk about the ongoing issues in boxing, and there has been a few issues that have gone on in boxing, notably, obviously, this Fury Joshua stuff, which will keep going until the fight happens. But there isn't any fights, like physical fights happening at the moment to talk about. And all our content is built around the fights that happen every week. So it's the same with you. If you've got no games, you've got no people reacting to games or talking about upcoming games, etc. So it's in the same mold as that.
Yeah. Andrew Chow says, evening both. There's talk about football restarting with the Premier League potentially next month. However, what's the word on boxing coming back? Any timelines?
So obviously the government announced that recently that no live sport until after 1st of June. It's a bit different with boxing as well, because boxing obviously will have to happen behind closed doors, as will football if it returns obviously as well. But fighters need camps, so you need a date now. Boxing, I expect to return in this country in July. Eddie Hearn's outlined a plan which is called Matchroom Fight Camp, where he's basically building something on the Matchroom headquarters in the garden, which he put an article about in the Daily Mail recently. Yeah, in the back garden, but it's their old mansion house where the headquarters are, where the Hearns used to live. So, but when he kind of did a mock-up plan, it looked quite exciting. But at the moment, if I drew a plan out in my garden or your garden, that'd look appealing for boxing at the moment, because everyone's obviously starved of it. And the first show he said that will return will be on the 18th of July. So what he's going to do is he's going to do 4 shows back to back over the space of 4 weeks. Start with some smaller fight cards, and then the 4th show, if everything goes well, will be the fight between Dylan White and Povetkin. Minimum of 5 fights per card. So in total, you're only going to see 20 fights over that 4-week period for Matchroom. Everyone has to quarantine who are involved in the production. So officials, boxers, trainers, whoever, it will be the minimal amount of people that's needed to make the event will only be allowed to go there. I don't even know if media can go there, so I don't know whether I'm allowed to go there. If I am, I would have to quarantine and get tested as well. You're not allowed to leave that area. Like, it's a big area, to be honest, but wherever you are, whatever hotel you're in, you have to all stay together. And if you leave the area for any reason, you have to get retested. These are the proposed plans, but obviously a lot can change between now and we're talking about the space of 2 months. Still waiting to hear what Frank Warren's planning. Hopefully talking to Frank Warren this week about his plans about coming back as well. So it's difficult. And
boxing behind, football behind closed doors, as we've seen this week with the Bundesliga, and that's not the same. Boxing behind closed doors is going to be similar, isn't it? Because boxing, you need the crowd. It's that I always look at it, right, when you've got like big fights on and you see like the undercard, the early fight, like that first fight where you look and there's absolutely nobody there, and it's just like, even though sometimes some of those fights are good, you're just like, it's dead, isn't it? Then later on, when everyone's in and they're up for it and the ring walks and
that's something that obviously football and boxing share, as in, the atmosphere kind of makes the night and adds to the whole event, whether that's a game of football or a fight in the ring. And when you take that element out of it, it will have an impact. But we're in a position where we don't have a choice. So yeah, we saw the Bundesliga return last weekend, and it was weird to watch. But I think for the next sort of few months, we're going to have to get used to that. So would we rather not have it and wait until everything? We don't know how long that wait's going to be, because the government phase to kind of get people back to some sort of normality, the very last thing will be things like football stadiums where there's like 60,000 people there. I mean, there's no chance of any of these events of social distancing. So we're going to have to get used to that for football and for boxing as well. And boxing's another thing, is so close contact in sport as well. So a lot of hurdles have to be overcome by a lot of the promoters in order to even make this possibility. But we get live sport on the TV. But again, you go to Arsenal, I go to Arsenal, I go to boxing, etc. So we're going to have to, we'd take it now, wouldn't we? We'd take live sport on the TV. Everyone, suddenly no one was interested in German football before the weekend. Suddenly like, oh, did you see that game the other day in the Bundesliga? I'm like, you've never spoken about German football in your life. But yeah, when you're starved of something, if there was a fight on tonight on Sky Sports, it doesn't matter who it was. I'm sure the numbers would do great. If there were two unknowns fighting for some unknown title in an unknown venue, I don't think people would care. I think people are tuning in anyway. So,
and the Premier League looking to come back probably sometime towards the end of June. And as Darren Campbell says here, 6 players. Well, I don't think they're players. He says 6 players. I think it's more like 6 people have tested positive for coronavirus in the tests that they did. They did a load of tests, I think, Friday gone. So there's been 6 people have tested positive. Now, they haven't revealed who those people are, whether they're players, whether they're officials, whether it's just people around the Premier League. But, you know, I kind of think that's inevitable because it was the same with the Bundesliga, isn't it? They had players that tested positive, but it is going to be really, really challenging when it comes back. And yeah, we're all desperate for it to come back. And as you said, Kugan, you are a huge, huge Arsenal fan, like myself. You've been going there from, well, you never used to miss a game until you started doing IFLTV. What are you thinking about Arsenal? If you know, first of all, with Arteta, what have you made of Arteta?
Do you know what? I was a bit gutted for Unai Emery in a way because I like people to be given a chance at clubs, and you know, we've had many debates, and it's not just with managers because we've never really had to do the manager debate because obviously Wenger was there for so long, etc. But I'm all for giving people kind of a chance to fully show what they can do. So I wasn't gutted about in the terms of he had to go or not had to go. I think changes had to be made, and the club acted kind of swiftly to bring in Arteta. A lot of people had their reservations about Arteta as well, when there was possibly other more experienced, high-profile people that we could have attracted to the club. But I think so far from the period that obviously he took over to now, say now, pre-COVID, you can't really knock him. Still defensively, questions are there, but I think I said to you before that a turning point had been that Manchester United win. And there are glimmers of hope, but I said to you before as well that when I was on here before, what we're settling for at the moment, we're a club that's kind of at a minimum are used to playing in the Champions League. We don't get that anymore. So what's a successful season for Arsenal now? I mean, it's crazy the turnaround, but it's been a slow process over the years. And our biggest fear was, I remember arguing with your brother about this before, and he said, what would you, before we won the FA Cup for the first time in how many years, our first trophy in how many years? And I remember saying to Laurie that I would always pick the Champions League over an FA Cup win. And it was a case of, and Laurie would say to me, no, we've just got to win something. We've just got to win something. But I always said the Champions League was our kind of, that was it. Like, we made top 4 and that was how it was over years. But we're so far off winning a Premier League title. It's a joke. We are. And that's the reality of it. And we've been blessed enough to see some of the best Premier League Arsenal sides, and not just Arsenal sides, but sides in the Premier League from the 98 team, the 2004 team, the 2002 team. Like, we were spoiled. But how long are we going to keep banging on about that? Our bit of glory, unfortunately, this season is seeing Watford beat Liverpool. And that should just be a little, they haven't taken the the invincible spot, great, but that shouldn't be our defining glory of the season.
Mm.
But it has turned into that, and it's a case of Tottenham not winning the Champions League last season. That was our bit of glory, you know. And we're now looking at other things like demises or losses or failure to win something as our success, because more people talk about that shit than anything. And really, we haven't really got anything else to talk about in the respects, because we're not challenging, like I said to you, we're not even challenging really for top 4 at the moment.
You see today, well, it's not even today, like the last couple of days they've been talking about FFP, right? So we know that Arsenal run off of this model where basically we only spend what we earn and stuff like that. Now they're relaxing with FFP because of the coronavirus. They're relaxing it so that owners can pump money in because they know that things are going to be rough, right? Do you have any confidence that the owner will pump money in, Stan Kroenke?
No. No.
That's a quick answer.
No, but I don't have confidence that he'll do it. But Arsenal, over the last 10 or 15 years, have been almost the most unpredictable players in the transfer markets, because you don't know what they're going to do from time to time. We know with other clubs like City, United, etc., they've proven track record in, even if they've won things, is to strengthen and is to obviously better the team, even if they've won a league title, etc. Liverpool as well. With Arsenal, we don't know what we're getting every transfer window. And it's more notably the summer transfer window that sometimes we've been surprised. You remember that time where we signed like 5 players on deadline day, yeah? We signed like Arteta.
Was one of them, wasn't it?
What?
Arteta was one of those.
We signed Park, yeah? We signed Mertesacker.
Yeah.
Who was the other players? Someone help me out, yeah? Mertesacker, Arteta, Park.
So Podolski? No, it was before that.
No, not Podolski. It was like 5 random panic on the day, yeah? And everyone was like, was it Welbeck? Was Welbeck? I think Welbeck might have been after that. But so we have a window like that sometimes, yeah? Then we have a window sometimes where he bought no one, yeah? No player come into the club one summer, yeah? Yeah. And everyone was like crying out, like not one single transfer come in that summer, yeah? Then we've had like windows where like Ozil's come in and they've like smashed out 45 million. Then we've had like, it's just been so inconsistent that you can't really say you've got any confidence that more money will be put in for transfers.
Remember that window where the only player we bought was Petr Cech?
Yeah.
That was it. You know what I mean? We needed a defensive midfielder. Strikers, I mean, Cech. That was all we bought. And you know, as this guy was just saying here, that FFP is relaxed, so you'll see owners want to put money into their clubs. United, Chelsea, PSG, City, among others, will be out there taking advantage of the market. Where will Arsenal be? So you're saying that you don't have no confidence, because also this guy here, Dr. Viral, says, hi Robbie. To be honest with you, I think Stan will ask Arsenal to offload some players to use it to fund his LA Rams project. I don't see us making a single signing this summer.
But that's what I'm saying. I think, like I said to you, our track record over the last few years has been very unpredictable in the transfer market, especially the summer one, where we're more optimistic. And I know what you're like, the same as me. Even before you doing this, we're like, transfer deadline day is like, sometimes we hear these whispers from these Sky Sports News reporters and we're like glued to the TV. And then we've watched it until like 11 o'clock or whenever the cut-off time is. And then we're still hoping that they've made the deal, but they haven't announced it. And then we wake up in the morning. I remember one morning, I was like waiting up and I was like, we ain't signed no one. The next morning, I woke up and it was like, Arsenal have made a last minute signing, but it wasn't disclosed. And it was Diarra, yeah? Diarra, yeah? They signed it from Chelsea. But our transfer windows are like, they're like I said, so unpredictable. It doesn't really give anyone any confidence to know exactly what will happen in the summer. Can players leave? Yeah. And to be honest with you, the last few years, the players leaving the club have been less. Like, we're notoriously known for selling our best players. We have done over the last 10 years, all our best players, you know, your Van Persies, your Nasris, your Alexis Sanchez's, have all gone. Over the last few years, I don't know whether that's a compliment or not to us, that people are not really been hunting our players like they have been. I know, obviously, Aubameyang's being linked with a move away in the summer, etc., which would be crazy to get rid of him. But yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know, especially with the situation we're in now, how that kind of affects our transfer policy come the summer.
Yeah, this guy says it's actually now that Kroenke should invest. Certain clubs might have to sell to make ends meet. We might be able to get good players for lesser fees. Now, you'd have thought that Arsenal should be in that position, but there's just no confidence that he's going to put his hand into his pocket and take out money and say, right, FFP. I mean, he's borrowing loads of money at the moment to build his stadium in America. The reports are that he's requesting to borrow more money because they've run into problems with it because of this whole coronavirus thing. Can't see him. And you know what? You said a very interesting thing right at the start, and you have said this to me before, and you did say it when you came on when we were doing that live stream to raise money for the NHS. I remember you saying it that night. Where do we want to? What are we? Where do we want to be? Do we want to? That's an interesting. What is it we want? Do we want to win the league? Is it top 4? Because I think over the years, one of the biggest problems over the years is that was the target, top 4. That was it. Top 4, get into the top 4, Champions League money, use that money to buy players, and that was it. We've not targeted winning the Premier League, not to me.
Since 2004, yeah, you tell me what Arsenal team has competed in a title race.
Only the team. Only the team. You know the year when with Eduardo, when he broke his leg.
Yeah, we were in Birmingham that day, weren't we?
We were at the game that day. Yeah.
We were 2-0 up, weren't we? Yeah. Birmingham. Walcott scored 2 up.
Yeah, remember he was at the game. That was the last time I thought that season we were competing to win the league that season, and up until that game we were looking good. And then it's like after that game it just went downhill. But that was probably the last time I can say we were putting in a proper challenge. A lot of people were saying, yeah, Arsenal are going to win it this year. I feel that. You know what I mean? You know when you're sort of getting towards Christmas and that. You're saying, oh, what, I feel that Arsenal. But apart from that,
Robbie, I remember the 2001-2002 season, yeah? And I remember talking to you and I mapped it out in my head. Yeah, it was the season when Wiltord scored the winner at Wiltord scored the winner at Old Trafford, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mapped it out. So I looked at the run of games and I was like, yeah, Robbie, yeah, we've got 10 games, yeah. Like we win 9 of the games and like we'll win the league, yeah. And we went on some mad run, yeah, won all the games. Like we had like Lundberg bang on form, we had Christopher Ray banging 25-yarders at Bolton, like everything was working for us, yeah. But I notice now, like whenever it comes to it, and even to get into top 4 last year, it was at one point it was in our hands. Like it was in our hands where if we win like the last, I don't know, 6 out of the last 8-9 games, we're guaranteed a top 4 finish. And the collapse of them in the league last year was horrendous. I mean, forget the Chelsea game in the final of the Europa League. The fact that they dropped. I mean, if you looked at the running as well, no disrespect for those teams, you looked at the home games, Robbie, and thinking banker. They dropped points left, right, and centre. They didn't deserve to be in the Champions League last year with that run of form. Like those days are gone where like Arsenal used to pull it out the bag. You know, when it's getting towards like March, April, May, that time, Arsenal step it up, make top 4. And now, I mean, how many years did we finish above Tottenham? I mean, that's
that was standard.
Exactly. But what are we settling for? It's worrying. And like I said to you, we've been blessed I mean, we've watched some of the bestest football we've ever seen. We've watched some of the Premier League's greatest players.
I remember, right? The last ever game at Highbury, was me and you were there. Remember?
Aston Villa, 5-0.
Yeah. Was that the game when you got a box? Remember, you got
No, I didn't get a box. I got the hospitality package for me and you.
The hospitality package, right? And me and you went. That was my first ever time being in those area, right? And we went. And I remember we watched the game, won it easily, and that was the last game. And we were just like, yeah, man. We were so proud of the team. And we were looking forward to, wasn't it? When we were talking, we were both sort of looking forward to, right, the next chapter at the new stadium. You know, wonder what it's going to be like. You know what I mean? It's going to be exciting going there. And ever since we've gone into that place, it's gone downhill.
A handful of FA Cup wins, yeah, in 14 years for a club like Arsenal isn't good enough. And I think we've become used to it now because, listen, we talk about, I mean, listen, Dennis Bergkamp's birthday the other day, and we look back, it's such a long time ago, we're talking like 16 years ago since we won a world title, a Premier League title. Like 16 years ago, Robbie, do you know what I mean? There's like kids that are 16, 15 now that follow Arsenal wouldn't have like a born and like watching.
Yeah, we had a kid on last night, right? A kid in the comments last night. That's what he hit home to me. A kid, he goes, "Oh, I'm 17. I've never seen Arsenal win the title." I was like, "Shit, it's true. He's 17. It's terrible. What's going on, man?" And when we was at Highbury, me and you used to go there week in, week out. That was just a standard, innit? We went to those games. It was like standard that we'd be challenging at the very least, innit? And now, I mean, was it all worth it? I mean, let's get some comments. Loads coming in. Nathaniel Lawrence says, if we want any change in the club, we need to boycott it. Don't buy season tickets or anything until there's a change. Would that do anything, Kugan? I mean, this guy also says, fans from London, why don't you go on strike and demand that Kroenke sell the club? But would that work?
Do you know what? Things like that, the idea behind it is like, yeah, the intention's there. But the practicality of doing something like that, you know, I mean, would you do that? I don't think I would do that.
It's hard because you want to go to the games, you want to see your team play. I mean, it's what we've been doing.
And you listen, like I said, you follow clubs. I mean, I always tweet about something about Arsenal, and people like you get fans from like other clubs that go, "Well, try being this supporter and try and being that supporter," but you can only judge from your own history and what you're used to. But unfortunately, it's not like we've just gone off the ball for the last 3 or 4 years. Like I said, we've not won a league title in 16 years. We've not competed for a good, I don't know, I can't remember what season that Eduardo season was, but you're talking about 2007, 8 maybe?
Yeah, long time ago. Because that was when, as you said, we were at that game. That was when we started hitting.
We had it in our hands, Robbie. That title, in our hands.
Gallas was sitting on the floor. Remember that? Mally Wright says, "Hi guys, Kroenke has no ambition and not interested in winning anything. Leicester has more ambition. And wait until Everton and Newcastle start spending. We'll be left further behind. We deserve more." That's the other thing. Newcastle now, when they talk about Newcastle and Everton, those two teams, right? When you're talking about this financial fair play thing now, being relaxed, Everton, they got our old guys. They've got, Usmanov there, right, in the background, and Mashiri, right? They're billionaires. And they were at Arsenal wanting to spend, and they wouldn't get a chance because Stan Kroenke wouldn't let them in, yeah? They're at Everton. They can spend big. They got big money, right? Then you got the guys coming in at Newcastle, the Saudis. You know that Saudi money, you was out there the other day. That money's on a different level. They start spending. They start like I was talking to somebody else. I said, suppose in Newcastle, for instance, financial fair play removed. Come along to Aubameyang at the end of the season once the takeover is done and said, "Yeah, we'd love to sign you, 500 grand a week." He's not going to turn that down, is he? He'd be stupid to. This is the type of type of thing they will be able to do because money's no object.
It's not, Robbie, it's not a new thing, right? It's just obviously you've got people with very, very deep pockets willing to invest in.
Including our guy.
Exactly. So, look, Chelsea were the first ones to do it, yeah? And listen, this buying a Premier League title is, you can phrase it how you want, but the influx of money in, you remember that team that Chelsea assembled with when they bought like Joe Cole. They spent loads of money, but this is like back then, this was like 15, 16 years ago when they done this. And then we've seen Man City do it. But now we're gonna see clubs that are normally not competing for the Premier League in a position where they've got like an endless pit of money that they're willing to back the club with. And you convince some of these players to come over there, and they will, because like I said, money talks. So money talks. And we've never really been able to compete with that, with the sides that have chucked money into the team.
But now, this is what I'm saying. Now that this financial fit, we haven't been able, and over the past couple of seasons, a lot of people said, well, it's not a lot more he can do because of financial fair play, and we're not in the Champions League. And I get all that, and the wages. But if they relax this thing, which they're going to do, that means that he can circumvent that and say, right, actually, now I'm going to push in 100 million. But he ain't going to do it. Yeah, I mean, it's just, the other clubs are going to do it, and we'll fall further behind. I mean, let me get some more, loads of comments coming in. Mr. Rotten says, if our buying and selling mentality doesn't change, we're going to become a mid-table team under the likes of Wolves, Leicester, and Everton. Mascaden says, is this guy a UFC fighter? You know what I mean? You're looking
yeah. Up there. Whoever asked that, yes, I am. I'm very soon behind closed doors. Mike Overmars Stone. Is that his actual name?
Yeah, that's it. That's his name there.
Robbie, what a player he was.
Mark Overmars, unbelievable.
He's signing for like $1 million. Right. What's that?
And what did we do when he was at the height of his powers?
He was unbelievable.
Yeah, brilliant.
He wasn't as good as Glenn Helder. Yeah. Yeah, Glenn Helder. Aye, Glenn Helder scored 1 goal for Arsenal. Who was it against, Robbie?
The Glenn Helder goal? Tottenham?
No.
Who did he score against?
He scored 1 goal. I liked Glenn Helder, though. I did like Glenn Helder. He was dangerous. But he scored 1 goal.
No, he got me. Who did he score against?
Middlesbrough.
What's supposed to remember that?
I remember it. You're older than me. You should fucking know.
Memory's gone. Mike Overmars says, we're struggling for the top 4 now, and we're going to be miles off. Kroenke keeps using the monies made at Arsenal in America. A lot of people are accusing him of that. David Cummings says, get Stan Kroenke. Doesn't want to lose money buying players when we're not up for the task. Simple. As a look at the Pep 70 million for what's for Pep, he's saying for 70 million he's been useless. Listen, we've got to give him time.
Give him time. Listen, this whole Pepe thing, yeah, it's a lot of money we spent, and it was a gamble because of his age and etc. etc. But let me tell you, I've seen enough in Pepe, yeah, to know that guy has potential to be a very, very good player at Arsenal. You need to be patient with him. I don't look at him like Gervinho. You know, like when Gervinho signed for Arsenal and he had a couple of good games, and I was like, yeah, this guy looks like he's got all the tricks, but we'll see. But Pepe, I've seen enough of Pepe to
quality. Yeah, I think next season we're going to see the best of him. On that, you know, as soon as we're talking about that right-hand side at the moment, I don't know if you saw them reports today about Bellerin. Now, there was a report in, I think it was Sky Germany or one of those outlets from over there in Germany saying that he wants to leave at the end of the season. Now, this is just a rumor, by the way. It's not definite or, you know what I mean? But that's the rumor. And then it was sort of sparking debate. We were talking about it on this morning show. I mean, where are you with Bellerin? Would you cash in on him, or do you think he's an important member of Arsenal's team that we should be keeping? And I was debating it as well with DT earlier in the All Guns Blazing podcast as well. I mean, where are you on it?
Ever since Bellerin was at Arsenal, I've always been a massive fan of Bellerin. I think on his day, he's one of the best right backs in the world, no doubt.
In the world? In the world?
What? On his day, you don't think that Bellerin is as good as anyone in the world? No.
In the world? The world?
Right. What am I going to say? Well, one of the best right backs in the Premier League.
One of the best right backs in the Premier League? Yeah. On his day, yeah.
I think listen, Bellerin, okay, don't forget, a lot of stop-start. He's had a stop-start.
Yeah.
Okay. But Bellerin on his day, I think, is as good as anyone. I do.
No, man. There's quite a few right backs ahead of him. If I think in the Premier League, right, for instance, Trent Alexander-Arnold's miles above Hector Bellerin right now.
Okay.
Pereira at Leicester, miles above Bellerin. I'd say Doherty at Wolves, better. That Max Aarons as Norwich has been getting a lot of ratings. It's quite a lot of good. There's quite a lot of good right backs. I don't know if he'd be would he be in the top 5 right backs in the Premier League, let alone the world?
Listen, I said on his day, okay. I mean,
listen, he's had a lot of injuries, right? And it's been and we all know the last injury he had, the massive setback for any player. But we haven't seen that day for a while. I mean, I think we need to.
Yes, of course, I'll agree with that and haven't. But I look at Bellerin as someone that I'm taking the best bits out of what I've seen of Bellerin over his Arsenal career, not specifically about this season. And obviously, he has spent a lot of it injured, etc., etc. But I think I'll stick with what I say. I know people think.
So I'll give you 5, right? I'll give you 5 that I think are better than him at the moment in the Premier League. So
you're talking about at the moment. So I know you're gonna whoever you say, I'll probably agree with you. Yes.
Yeah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Pereira. You could go Wan-Bissaka as well at United. You could go Kyle Walker. That's 4. Max Aarons possibly 5. Right. I said and Doherty.
You said Trent Alexander.
6. He's not. It's been a while since he's. It
has been, but
he's been. This guy says Aurier. No, not Aurier. But he's got a way to get back to being.
He has got a way to get back. So what you're asking, whether we cash in?
I'm not saying necessarily we cash in. I'm saying I personally, my personal opinion is that he deserves longer because he's been out with that ACL. But he is a player of value. He's got 3 years left on his contract. If he wanted to leave, he's got 3 years left on his contract, and I think we get 30 million. He's a big name, isn't he? He's a big name.
Bellerin should have been more advanced in his Arsenal career than where he has. Okay, he should be further ahead, and he should be ahead of a lot of them players that you've mentioned now.
Hold on, wait a minute. Another one's just coming. Reece James. Nurses. That's something. He's quite far back. He's got a lot of ground to make up.
The problem is as well, you're going to sell him, right? If we knew, right, we're going to sell him, say we sold him for 30 million, and we knew that he was going to then go and buy another right back for 30 million, I'd go, all right, maybe take a chance on that. Whenever a player is sold at Arsenal, there's never a guarantee that money comes back into the club to go and buy new players. So what, are we celebrating 30 million going back into Arsenal's account? Great. I'd rather keep the player, thanks.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Like the players that we've sold for big money, it's never been, a direct replacement usually that comes in because of the money coming in from selling a specific player. So like I said, we get 30 million. Say we got 40 million for him. All right. If I knew that they were going to go and buy someone who they deem to be better than him for the same money, or put a bit more money to get that player, fine. But if it's just going to sit there, then I'd rather keep him.
Let's get the comments are still flooding in on particular that. Here's one. Joyce says, Kugan, go and sort Stan out, pal. Right. They're feeling you could go and take him on. Lone Star Londoner says we spent 112 million last summer. Martinelli, Tierney, Luiz, Saliba, and Pepe. Not about money, it's about recruitment. Sell Bellerin, please. 30 million, and he says laugh out loud. But that money spent was just last year. But what about like you were saying earlier, Kugan was saying, quite a lot of years of just, you might have the one, but we've not really gone out there and and we're always losing our best players. We lost Ramsey.
Of course. Listen, I never wanted Ramsey to leave, and I know, Robbie, you wouldn't have wanted Ramsey to leave. I'll be honest with you, I never wanted Jack Wilshere to leave Arsenal either, to be honest with you. They were those two guys were earmarked as our midfield for many, many years, and had the potential to be as good as any combination that the Premier League had ever seen. And that was obviously not. That didn't go to plan, shall we say? So
injuries again on both of them, isn't it?
Injuries again, yeah, of course, injuries. But look, you know what? I've said this to you at the start. With Arsenal players, I want to see them to the point where it's like, right, no, this player should be sold or whatever. But I want to get it to that point. And I know what you're saying about Bellerin as well. Like, he's been at the club for a long time now. He's probably one of the most, even at 25, one of the players at the club that's been there the longest.
Yeah.
But because we haven't seen the full potential of Bellerin, that's why I probably wouldn't want to see him leave Arsenal. But I mean, from them players there, Martinelli, I mean, that guy's potential is frightening, to be honest, what he could become. Well, David Luiz, would you have rather have kept Koscielny, be honest?
No, I think Koscielny was really coming to the end of his days, man. He was making, I mean, David Luiz has made a lot of mistakes, but so was Koscielny. He was making a lot of mistakes as well, man. And just too many injuries.
I like David Luiz, but it's not even like getting a William Gallas. It's like, we know David Luiz is like really towards the end of his career, and it was like we needed an experienced centre-half to come in, which is fair enough. I haven't really made my mind up about Saliba. He looks decent. The other player, who's the guy that come on loan? Ceballos. See, he in games looked pretty good. I know he was only on loan and that, but he looked in certain games like decent. Other games, he looked a little bit out of his depth, to be honest. But you and me spoke about this at the start of last transfer window last summer, and we were relatively happy with the signings made. Tierney, obviously.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was. I thought, for Arsenal, I thought it was a good transfer window, and I expected us to compete for the top four. And that's why it was been a really, really disappointing season, because we got a better team than we had last year. You know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know, man. I sometimes started to wonder to myself, is the Emirates cursed or something? It's like, ever since we stepped into that place, man, you might have to do like, at Liverpool, they said that they reckon there was been some curse was placed on it by some gypsy guy, placed a curse on Liverpool, and they had to get it reversed. Maybe it's the same thing on Arsenal. I don't know, man, because it's just like, ever since we moved into that stadium, man, I don't know what's going on, man.
You know the team that first sort of come to the Emirates for the first 4 years. So like your Van Persie, obviously Henry was still there out when we moved to the Emirates, and Fabregas, Pleb, Rosicky, all them guys. Were you not more confident back then, even with that team? We weren't winning league titles, but were you not more confident in games with those guys? All right, forget Henry for the sec, but I'm on about that Fabregas, Pleb, Rosicky, that kind of team, Sanya, that team they had then.
Yeah, we have more quality there. I think what it is as well now is that the teams are better. So at that time, when we had quite a bit of quality in that team, but right now there are teams out there like Wolves, and you didn't have them sort of teams at that time. You know, we were still like amongst those four. I mean, the league's not lying with us. We were in that four best teams in the league, yeah. But now other teams have emerged, and you know, the players that we're buying, they're buying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, we're not. I don't know, man. It's just it has become very mediocre, and something needs to change. Something needs to change so that we can start attracting those real top quality. And when we do have these top quality players, stop them from leaving all the time. Players walking out, and a lot of times, if you check it, every time these players leave, they say the same thing, whether it be money or not. Right? We know a lot of times it is money, but a lot of those players, when they walk out, they say, I left because there was no ambition at the club. That's what Fabregas would, Percy, even now with Aubameyang. I don't think it's a money thing. I think he's looking at it and thinking, boy, what? If I stay there, what's going to happen? You know what I mean?
Do you know what? The problem as well, you're bang on right what you're saying. And a lot of the players that have left over the last 10 years, yeah, their decisions to leave Arsenal have proved right, because the majority of people that have left to like your Nasris, your Sanyas, your Van Persies and Fabric, all these people, they've gone and won league titles with whatever clubs. They all have. So their decision to leave Arsenal to go and compete for the Premier League title with their teams, whoever that be, whether it be City, whoever, United, has proved right. So the only bit of glory we got is obviously when Sanchez left to go to United, and he had didn't have the best time there. But that was,
you know, we should be, you know, how many players have left those other top clubs like citing those reasons, lack of ambition. We can't have so many players leaving and saying the same thing. And like you said, and they're proven right because they didn't go right.
They're proven right. Do you know one of the weirdest things? And I know we were over flooded in midfield at the time. You know, when we had the opportunity to re-sign Fabregas, yeah? We decided not to sign him, hence him going to Chelsea. Now, I know some Arsenal fans give Fabregas stick for going to Chelsea. I can't give that player any stick whatsoever, because we had a chance to bring him back. And at the time, Wenger decided not to bring him back when he went and had an unbelievable season at Chelsea. I mean, his assists for that season were incredible. And when Arsenal fans kind of dig out Fabregas and that, I'm like, no, that guy, Wenger didn't want that guy to come back. Oh, how good would it have been to have had Cesc Fabregas back?
I thought that was a big. Well, it's proven to be a big mistake at the time, wasn't it? Let's get into. There's loads of comments coming in. Let me try and catch up with some of them. Sam says we need to think more about these players as assets. I'm afraid Bellerin can be a great source of income. I love the guy, but I love Arsenal more. Azrai says FFP is suspended. Go get Mbappe.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Pranesh says Aubameyang to Man United and they sign Sancho, they will win the Premier League next year. Jesus Christ, man, they even say things like that.
But
Nino, sorry?
Arsenal, right? And then when you look at like Dennis Bergkamp, was at Arsenal for 11 seasons, or 10 or 11 seasons, right? And Dennis Bergkamp had his best form of his career at Arsenal, 2 league titles, invincibles, etc., etc. But that loyalty within clubs now, especially at Arsenal, isn't there anymore. Like, and we knew that from like Anelka. When Anelka signed from PSG when he was 18 years old, he only spent a year at Arsenal and then fucked off for like 20 odd million to where was it Real Madrid or wherever he went to, right? But Arsenal have never had, and have had less players that have kind of been in that Bergkamp-esque, stayed with the club during that. And Bergkamp probably could have left in that time as well, but had no reason to, because he was
winning. We're winning. It's an ambitious team. You know what I mean? You're winning. Not only you're winning one year, and then you're looking at the team around you and you're thinking, right, we're all going to be here next year, plus add a couple more. I'm staying. I want to be here winning things. But at the moment, guys are here and they're looking around the dressing room and they're going, boy,
Name me one other player, Robbie. Robbie, name me one other player, yeah, of the last 20 years that's been at Arsenal, even anywhere near what Bergkamp stayed at Arsenal from.
None.
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 They've
None.
all, at some point, they've all gone.
They've all gone. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. Until we address that, until we halt that, when players leave when we want them to, when we, like what Chelsea do. Willian rinsed out now. Now they're offering, you know, they're saying, oh, you know, we're getting linked with Willian. And like we keep picking up all these little, you know, leftover players. No, we want to be the team that's providing the leftovers. No, you know what I mean? It's honestly, it's just not good enough, man. I mean, actually, on that story about players leaving, I don't know if you saw the story today about Alex Song. He actually admitted that he left strictly for the money, right? And he was talking about when he was at Barcelona, he's on the bench, and he weren't playing. He said he didn't care because he was making loads of money. That's disgraceful.
You know what? Barcelona at one point were like picking Arsenal players at will, yeah? And I remember talking to you about it, and I was thinking, especially when Hleb went, and I was like, look at the team they've got, yeah? Like Xavi, Iniesta, all these guys there at their like peak. What on earth is Hleb going to sit on the bench at Barcelona for? But he did, and they went there for the money. They must have done.
Yeah, he's actually come out since that he regretted that, didn't he?
Yeah,
he said he's what. But Alex Song today said he didn't regret it because he left for the money. He actually can't believe the story. Here's another one. Trent Singh says Chamberlain, Oxlade-Chamberlain even left and won trophies at Liverpool. He said it was to play central midfield and to play in a team which has ambition. Sad to hear. That's another one. Giroud. He didn't specifically leave because, you know, he was kind of forced out, but he's gone on to win things. But it's true. Ox was, remember, he had that great season.
Yeah.
Thinking, and then he goes, and again, he cites the reason for going is the lack of ambition. Sam says Kugan that is a fantastic point. That's one of the reasons I'm liking Arteta. This is he's got the gigantican mentality. Gonna need that to keep some of these players.
Listen, I've still not forgiven Ian Wright for leaving for West Ham. The only one I think we all accepted was when Henry left to go to Barcelona. Henry was at the end of his career, and he had kind of done everything at Arsenal. And he wanted to play for Barcelona, and he went there and, you know, did his thing over there. So I think that's the one. And it doesn't matter what club Henry would have been at or whatever. Henry is always going to be Arsenal. I mean, we knew that. That's his club. He speaks about that openly. But apart from that, I mean, even like Adebayor, you know, he had that great season at Arsenal, and we were like excited when Adebayor was there. He left City. Dalglish left City. Tanya left. Nasri left, and these were good players. Nasri, I was a big fan of Nasri.
Yeah,
when he was at Arsenal.
I mean, this guy here, Prince Ashley Thompson, says Arsenal sold Ashley Cole, Lauren, Perez, and Bergkamp retired before the new Emirates, and we were sold Vieira before our last Highbury season. Some of these players should have been at the Emirates. Maybe that's why we left our soul, as Wenger referred to, at the Emirates. Again, true. He literally got rid of the old team, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, that Ashley Cole one was like pivotal because Ashley Cole was one of the best left backs in the world. Yeah, and we sold him. I mean, it was the deal that brought Gallas to Arsenal, wasn't it? The Ashley Cole thing. But again, he was sold to not just a club like Barca or whatever. This was another thing Arsenal started doing and making this a fucking trend. They're selling players to their rivals, their teams. Van Persie won United the league because we sold him to them. Won United the league. Every Man United fan would know that his signing was pivotal to them winning the league, because without him, it probably wouldn't have happened. Go on, sorry.
This is where, Kugan, this is where I question Stan Kroenke's ambition. because if you're an owner that you're ambitious to win titles, you don't sell your best players to strengthen your. All right, it's fair enough a player leaves to go to Barcelona or something, but you don't sell your best players to the very same people that are trying to win the league as well. And we have done that many a time. I'm like, you're not interested. I mean, he famously came out one time, innit? He tried to say it was a misquote, but he famously came out one time and said, "Oh well, I'm not about winning trophies. It's more than that." And I'm like, yo, we're here to win trophies, bro.
Robbie, yeah? You remember the whole Suarez thing, yeah? The 45 million and a pound, right?
Yeah, 40 million.
40 million and a pound, yeah? Look, we want to adopt that kind of attitude. We ain't selling to Arsenal. We are not selling to Arsenal. They're a rival team in the Premier League. Why are we selling our fucking best? Sorry for swearing. Why are we selling our best player to a rival team? It's madness. And we've done it. We've done it with Chelsea. We've done it with City. We've done it with Man United. We've done it with whoever else. It's crazy.
And the Sanchez one, how the Alexis Sanchez had worked out as we all feared he would have done, that might have made Man United win the league as well. Yeah, I mean, again, so I question the ambition. Surely, if you're the owner of a club and your ambition is to win, right? And I'm dealing with the owner now. Your ambition is to win. You can't allow that to happen. You can't. That says to me, that's like a big sign up there for me saying you're not interested in winning. It's more profit and loss.
It takes a lot of balls, and it makes a big statement for owners and even managers to kind of. I know it's sometimes out of the manager's hand. You know, like I'm not saying that Wenger would have wanted all them players to go if he had his choice. Some of them possibly would have stayed, but if they're going, they're going. There's nothing Wenger or Arteta or whoever can do anything about it. But it would be nice to kind of, especially to rivals, especially to domestic rivals, to say we're not selling to you like our. And it's never anyone mediocre. Like any player that we've ever taken away from like we took, and I love Welbeck, right? But Man United, when they let Welbeck go to Arsenal, Welbeck had his Man United career, had been plagued with injuries. Was like they weren't really going to miss Welbeck, but we took Welbeck, and Welbeck was a decent-ish signing for us and scored a few goals, etc., etc. But even like Gallas, right? We got Gallas, but they got Ashley Cole. Like we know who benefited from that deal, yeah. And like we signed Diarra from Chelsea, or like all these guys, like a David Luiz, when David Luiz is like
check
35, check when they've got someone better, or the players I think have come towards the end of their career. We've not done that. We've sold players. Some of them haven't even peaked yet. We're selling these players to their company, or we're selling them in their peak. It's madness.
Yeah. So Ox to Liverpool, strength for Liverpool. We sell. It's honestly no. When does this? And if that's what I said. To me, this Aubameyang thing now this summer's huge. If Aubameyang gets sold, I think it's going to send an absolutely terrible message to the fans of Arsenal Football Club, and also to any person thinking about joining Arsenal, or any people, because you just look on it and say that's not an ambitious club.
No,
that's not an ambitious. They've got Aubameyang, one of the best strikers in Europe right now, and they're selling him. They're not ambitious. They don't want to win nothing. They're just trying to collect pounds. You don't let players like that leave. You know what I mean? And to me, even if it meant, I know a lot of people will say, "Oh yeah, but we've got to take the money for him and stuff like that." I'd only sell Aubameyang if he insists he wanted to leave, and it's got to be abroad, and it will have to be for mega money, which will be hard to get in summer. If it's to, the rumours about Chelsea and Man United, and if that happens, man, if that happens and we sell him to any of those, oh my God, Let's get a few more comments. Running out of time on the show. It's been absolutely brilliant tonight. Sam says Cayman Island schooner. Maybe some money over there and one of them banks in the Cayman Islands you could send over. right? To try and get up with the transfers. But he says AFTV connects me with Arsenal and the fan base in a way that was not available before. I'm sure I speak for many people. I'll say thank you very much for that. Carl Reed says it's been downhill since Ashley Cole, over 5k to rivals. Kroenke don't care about trophies. All he wants is a Premier League club on his books to boost his ego. It's hard to argue with that at the moment. I'm not seeing, you know, we need to see signs of.
I'm not disagreeing with a lot of these comments here, to be honest. It's just,
it's, you know, it's hard to disagree. And as I said, it's going to be a big marker. You know, here's one for you, Kugan. This guy says, Kugan, missing boxing or football more? Because you've got split now. You're split. It's really.
I'm missing them for different reasons. I'm missing the boxing because it's obviously my work, and I'm like in the sport as such, following it week to week, and obviously I want to get back to that. But I am missing the football. We've had an optimistic-ish compared to whatever. Call it optimistic start to the year, and it was a shame that the Premier League would have finished last week, wouldn't it? The Premier League would have finished last week. Like, where would you think we would have finished if the season had gone? We don't know. Would we have made top four? I don't know. Arsenal are very unpredictable in that way. I don't know. I'd like to think that we may have done, but it would have taken some sort of miracle run to have got there. But it was possible. But I am kind of missing them both for very different reasons, obviously. But
that big fight that we all want to see, right? Which is basically Anthony Joshua and also Tyson Fury. Is that going to happen? I know you know both of them personally. Is that going to happen?
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen this year because the problem as well this year is that Joshua will only fight once this year, and he'll fight Kubrat Pulev, which is his mandatory. The fight was meant to take place next month at Tottenham's ground, actually. Tyson Fury was scheduled to fight Deontay Wilder in July, which isn't happening in July. So both of those fights can be pushed back to the last third of the year, which means that realistically they're only going to fight once this year. You know, guys at that level only really fight twice in a year. You know, like a Joshua will fight twice. Normally Fury, apart from some comeback fights he's had recently, would normally only fight twice in a year when they get to this level, because of the magnitude of the fights that they're in. So it's not going to happen this year, but depending on what happens in those fights, I mean, he's still got to get past Wilder again. Joshua's got to get past Pulev, but if those situations play out like that, then there's no reason why that fight doesn't happen next year. And Eddie Hearn's even talking about the fight happening twice next year, you know.
And who wins?
The fans win. The fans win.
Listen, he's turned into a proper pundit now.
No, I'm not. I'm not picking. I'm not picking sides this early on.
Right. What about? There's a few people in here. Where's that one? This guy. He says AJ will smash Fury. Oh. But then this guy says Tyson will school him. On the Tyson thing, Mike Tyson coming back. What do you make of that? Are you excited about that, or do you think, nah, give it a rest?
If he's going to come back and have an exhibition with another boxer, retired boxer, that's similar to his age, right? Like a Holyfield or whoever, someone in their 50s or whatever. Maybe you can get your head around that on an exhibition level. Anything more than that is...
Would he have, if he came back and he like really put it in training wise and that, could he fight a Fury Wilder? Could he fight a Joshua, or would they beat him easily?
I wouldn't have thought so. I think, listen, we know George Foreman.
We all saw that video, innit? We're like,
you wouldn't want to take your chances with Mike Tyson, regardless of whatever, because the man's still got and carries, you know, a bit of power there. You can see it's clear, and he's never ever going to lose that. But to compete with modern active heavyweights is a different thing to him fighting, you know, even, you know, Shannon Briggs are talking about him fighting maybe. Shannon Briggs a little bit younger, but not that much younger. Evander Holyfield. These guys in an exhibition style thing, maybe you can get your head around it. But for them to come back actually, and they wouldn't, I don't think they'll get licensed, to be honest with you. But you never know. It's like money talks at the end of the day. So, you know, if YouTubers can get boxing licenses in America and get carded, then I suppose anything's possible. So
on that YouTube thing, obviously you was at that fight as well, weren't you? Was you at that fight?
Yeah, I was at the KSI Logan Paul fight in November in LA, and I was also at the Jake Paul and Anison Gibb fight, which was in Miami in January.
Yeah, and huge crowds and huge interest. Now, what do you make of those fights? You know, I mean, YouTubers come in and fighting. I mean, do you look on it and say, "Oh, leave it alone, man"? You know, I mean, that's for the real guys, or do you embrace it?
I might look at it and say, "Leave it alone," but then I might look at the traffic that IFL generate that week and think, no. But listen, all jokes aside, yeah, it is what it is, and it's not for people. A lot of people had their opinion. I think to put them on the question mark for me is probably putting them on a professional card with guys like Billy Joe Saunders was on that card, but the attention was around obviously the YouTubers and who are like, listen, they're big stars in their own right in their fields. I mean, KSI is one of the biggest stars in the world. Like, you can call him an internet star or whatever, it doesn't matter. But we're on the internet now, so there's no difference. KSI's following is incredible. I mean, there's not many bigger YouTubers than KSI, and Logan Paul as well. These guys' following is absolutely incredible. And it's, listen, maybe it's a little bit of a marketing play from the people involved as well. They're not silly. They know that these guys have got great following. It's going to attract great numbers, etc., drive subscribers to the zone, etc., which has a lot to do with it. They're fighting each other. They're of similar standards. They're not going in against like experienced professionals. The only thing I would say is, if you're going to do a card, just maybe group it off as a YouTube card. So maybe get 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 fights on there with, you know, different YouTube rivalries and maybe do it that way. I think, listen, it doesn't have any effect on most people's lives. It's not, do you know what the argument from boxers are, right? Some boxers, which I understand as well, because boxers have kind of, unless you're earning the Anthony Joshua's, Tyson Fury's, and even below that level, it drops to a level where like boxers don't earn a lot of money compared to the fact that they're going into the ring and risk getting their brains punched out. They're not the money they earn doesn't warrant what they do at that level. When you get to Fury Joshua, yes, it does, but they don't. You know, boxers. A lot of boxers I know who fight small halls have to go and get other jobs, rely heavily on sponsors. Otherwise, they can't fight. You know, they can't afford to fight because they need to work, they need to train, etc. So their argument to this is they might have put in 15, 20 years into the sport and earned nowhere near the money that KSI and Logan Paul would have earned in that night. But you can't really look at it like that because these guys, they're attracting that revenue. They're attracting those numbers. They're not really taking anyone's space in boxing. You know, it's not like they're given that chance because of their boxing credibilities. They've been given that opportunity because of their following. But it's something that we're going to have to kind of accept because I think when boxing returns,
there'll be
more of this.
Prince says, Kugan, your favourite top 5 English boxers today?
What, current ones?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what, like half a that.
He's always getting himself in trouble because that's the thing, when you know all these boxers, they'll go on you and say, yo.
I'll have a call off someone going, why didn't you mention me in that thing? I'm like, why? Like, you don't even like football. Why were you watching that? No, listen, there's plenty of boxers I get on with. People know the boxers like I have like good relationships with. Your Tyson Furies, your Joshua's, your Dylan Whites, your Billy Joe Saunderses. Dave Allen's a good friend of mine. I'm like I said, I chat to a lot of boxers. I don't have a favourite one. My favourite fighter of all time is Prince Nassim Hamid, which a lot of people know. He's the reason why I started watching boxing in the first place. I know you're a fan of Nassim Hamid yourself, Robbie. But
Arsenal.
yeah. What's that?
I met him at Arsenal that time. Remember, he was with Frank Warren. Yeah.
Yeah.
Frank Warren, of course, big Arsenal fan.
Absolutely massive Arsenal fan. I mean, we're talking about the teams that we've seen in our lifetime. I mean, Frank's probably, obviously, you're older than me, Robbie, but Frank's, probably about 10, 15 years older than you. So,
and then Billy Joe Saunders, Arsenal fan as well, isn't he?
Billy Joe Saunders is an Arsenal fan. Yeah, I've been to Arsenal with Billy Joe a few times. So,
but you've dodged the question. Top 5. Come on.
I've just looked at 5. I'm not going to like put them in order of like number 5 is so and so.
Yeah, I love you, man. You're diplomatic, man.
I can't, Robbie.
Roll up on you.
I can't.
He's rolling up on you.
I can't even come to terms with my favourite Arsenal player ever. Do you know that? Like, I can't separate Ian Wright from Thierry Henry from Dennis Bergkamp. Like, I can't pick between the 3 as who's my favourite ever Arsenal player. Ian Wright was my first ever footballing hero, and he was for a lot of people. I know, obviously, you know him and very well, etc. You even before you knew him, he was like
he was
God at Arsenal. Dennis Bergkamp, kind of for me, like definitely one of my favourite Arsenal. And obviously, you can't discount Henry, but I can't even pick from the 3 of them. I couldn't categorically tell you who was my favourite player from the 3 of them. The good old days.
What about now?
Now,
you got all. I'll give you a week to answer that. This is the final one we're going to do tonight. Paul McKing says, "Great talk tonight, Robbie. I'm a big fan of yours, and it has been a great talk, Kugan. Brilliant having you on, mate. Thank you very much, and let's hope that boxing can get back soon, and also let's hope that Arsenal can get to where we." It seems such a long time ago, Kugan, that me and you were at Highbury, watching us win titles, watching us just everything about it was just brilliant. And do you know what? Before you go, right? I want you to tell people the story of what happened to you one year when you was on your way to the North London Derby.
Oh, don't! Why?
And back in the day, when there was no IFLTV and money was short, and you, as we used to call it in those days, you skanked the train. In other words, you jumped on the train without paying any money.
It genuinely was. Just quickly, yeah. So I used to get the train to Arsenal, right? So I'm in a bar just before, and my mate's in there. He's actually a Tottenham fan. Yeah, he's like, "Where you going?" I said, "You're not watching the game here." I said, "No, I'm going to the game." Right. So he goes, "Oh, you might as well take my train pass." They never check it anyway. So it was like a 2-part pass with his name on one, his picture on the other. And he was a white guy. So I said, like, don't give me that. Just let me take this. So I got on the train. Ticket collectors come along and said, have you got the second part to your ticket? And I said, no, I've left it at home. Mr. I'm not going to say the name, but it was Mr. C, whatever, right? So he said, okay, well, this isn't a valid ticket. So I said, all right, no problem. I'll pay whatever it is then if it's not valid or I need the second part. So he's like, so he's sitting there writing me a ticket. So I thought, okay, this is all right. Anyway, the man's done his job and gone. But sitting opposite me was an off-duty police officer. And so the police officer pulls his badge out. Yeah, he was just sitting there right in front of me and said to me, have you got any ID or anything? I said, no. He said, is this you? And I thought, and he said, like, I have reason to believe that you've stolen this. And I said, well, I haven't stolen it at all. And I just said to him, I said, I'll be honest with you. I said, I lent it off one of my mates. So he's like, right, we're going to have to investigate this. So got off at Liverpool Street Station. He'd called for backup, right? He called. So when I got off at Liverpool Street Station, there was 4 like BTP, British Transport Police people waiting for me there. That were escorting me to Bishopsgate Police Station. Yeah, like it looked horrendous. It looked like I'd like done some heinous crime when I hadn't. I'd just borrowed my mate's ticket. Yeah, so they put me in a cell, and it was like 1 o'clock, 1:30. I told him, I said, listen, it's North London Derby today. You're gonna have to let me go. Anyway, So the game had started, and I had no idea. And obviously, I've missed one of the best Arsenal goals that was ever scored. Thierry Henry's dribble around 20 Spurs players, right? So when that first goal went in, I don't know who scored the first goal, but they come and knocked on the cell and went, "There's been a goal at Highbury." So I've gone, "Who scored? Like, who scored?" And they didn't tell me who had scored. They just went, "There's a goal at Highbury." They wouldn't tell me that. Then when I got out, right, they've sat me down and they're like trying to do me for fraud, right? But obviously I didn't put my mate in it or anything. So I didn't, do you know what I mean? They asked me who my mate was and everything. I weren't going to put him in it. So I just didn't say anything. So they said that I'd stolen it. So I was going to court over it and everything. And then I had a court date to go on, like, for this, yeah. The day before I had the court date, they got in touch and said that they'd decided to drop it.
So you missed the North London derby.
Yeah.
Because you tried to jump the train.
20 quid on the train by borrowing my mate's train pass.
And missed one of the greatest, like you said, North London derby goals of all time.
Yeah. And I was in a cell. But the worst thing was them knocking on the door and going, "There's been a goal at Highbury."
And they were doing it deliberately to wind you up.
They didn't tell me we'd scored. They didn't tell me anything. I didn't know the final result until I'd got out of the thing.
That's classic, man. That's absolute classic. Well, listen, Kugan, thank you very much for coming on, man. You've brought back memories by coming on it today. And once again, tell everybody about your channel, where they can find you. Yeah,
IFLTV on YouTube. Content's not as good as it is when we're in full flow, but I'm sure everyone understands that. But yeah, appreciate obviously the support, and let's see what happens with the football next month. I'm quite curious to know how this is all going to work because yeah, you mentioned about the COVID thing earlier. The people testing positive, which I just want to add, I'm not massively surprised about that, Robbie. In the UFC the other day, they tested 1,200 people, and one of the fighters tested positive for COVID at UFC. It's not a massive shock when you're testing that many people. The chances are a few people. You could argue that there could have been more that had it. You know,
yeah.
People from 3 different clubs. I mean, it's not great, no, but I'm not massively surprised by that at all. But
yeah, well, let's see how it works out. Kugan, once again, thank you very much. That's Kugan Cassius there from IFLTV. And thank you for watching tonight. It's been a great show. And we'll see you in the morning.